Welcome to People Love Process. Adobe Illustrator out of the box provides a wide assortment of tools and functionality one can use to produce almost anything needed for vector art and design. But sometimes it doesn't provide a way to do certain things, and that's where custom scripts for Adobe Illustrator come into play to hopefully improve and simplify your workflow. Now, before I jump into this, I'd like to say I've been using Illustrator for 25 years now, and for the last 20 odd years, I've been collecting scripts ever since I first discovered them. And most of what I'm showing you here, you can find online. You just have to go to a bunch of arbitrary websites to download them, but they are out there in the wild. But I've collected all these, and we're going to be going through a lot of them. Now, I should say about the scripting language, it's JavaScript. So Illustrator obviously supports that when it comes to scripting, but it's also notoriously unpredictable. And some of these scripts are somewhat archaic in terms of their user flexibility. So I'll be pointing all that out as we go through it. But I still find the ones I'm going to share with you pretty useful in a lot of different ways. Some not so much, but I'm showing you anyway. And first of all, where do you put your scripts? Well, you put your scripts in whatever version of Illustrator you have. Let's say it's 2020. You go to the presets folder, you go to whatever language you are. I'm English, you might be different. You go to the scripts folder, and then that's where you drag all of these scripts. You can see one folder in here, and this one I'll call out when we do the QR code script. But the QR code, this is the actual JavaScript here. This is a support file for the QR code, so this isn't accidentally in here. It's actually part of that script. The script uses the JavaScript file in this includes folder to generate the QR code. So we want to focus on the very first script, and the very first script I want to focus on is called the random swatch fill. So let's go ahead and turn on our artwork here. You can see we have objects here, vector objects. All of these are black and white. And so we can select the objects we want to do random color fills on. I'll select the dots and the word diversity. I'm going to go up here. I don't just want black selected. I want all of these colors selected like this. And then I'll go to File. This is how you access your scripts. Go to Scripts, pull down to Random Swatch Fills and click. And it will take those colors that are in your swatches palette and randomly apply them to your artwork. Now, if you don't like it, then you can just redo it again. But that's as simple as that works. You can. So it doesn't always. It's doing it randomly. It's not like there's a computer doing a lot of heavy lifting here. But sometimes it groups things together. It's like these two, these two, these two. You know, this is where I would go in. I go, I think we need like a yellow one down here and like that. But it'll give you a good springboard jumping off place. Now, when I dialed all this in, this is what I did. And to be honest with you, I did this manually. I just wanted to show you that there's a script that can help you generate randomness if you're kind of struggling with it. But let's say you have a lot of these shapes like this, and you wanted them all to be colored differently. Well, we could do the same thing. We could select all these colors in the swatches panel like this, and we can go back to the script, and we can go down to random swatch fill. And I found that overall it does a better job with randomness. Let's go ahead and deselect these when it's a lot. But you can see some of these are still colored pretty close. These are all the same color. So this is where I would go in and I just manually decide, well, I think it'd look better if we take this and maybe we color it that, or we have two oranges here, so I might take this and color it a different color. So it gives you a place to start off with. None of these scripts are going to be perfect. Now, to further randomize it, maybe you don't want the orientation of each of these kind of motifs to be, perfectly straight. Well, this is where we can do another script. If we go to File, Scripts, and we can go random rotate like this, it'll bring up this and it'll say, what's the minimum amount of rotation you want on any one of these vector objects? Let's just punch in 23 and click OK. And then what's the maximum? I'll say 168. You can go all the way up to 360 if you wanted to, but actually let's do 84 or something like that, and click OK. And then it'll take that and it'll randomize everything and rotate it differently. So how useful is this? Well, it just depends on what you're trying to do. But this is the random swatch fill and the random rotate object scripts. And let's go ahead and move to the second script. And let's go ahead and move to the next script. The next script I want to show you is one called Add Light and Shadow Swatches. Now, I remember when I found this years ago, and I go, wow, this one's kind of cool. So I usually start with color because we're just going to go ahead and generate a color we don't have in our swatches. And I usually will just click down here. The general color I want is a blue. So we'll just create a base blue color. So I'll go 85 here. I'll add some magenta to it. And we'll just leave yellow and black out of it. We don't need the outline, of course, like that. And I'll go ahead and just create a new hue. And I like to create a global color like that. So we have a new hue. I'll go down here. I have 3 tonal family swatches here. These are just white. We'll put this one in here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to select this blue color in the swatches here. And I'm going to go File, Script, and we'll go Add Light and Shadow Swatches. And it's going to ask you, is this the color you want? And yes, that's fine. And I'm going to just go base blue, we'll name it, and click OK. And it's created that base blue over here, but it's also created base blue highlight and a base blue shadow. Now, of course, what I like to do is I like to go into these colors once set up, and I'll go ahead and turn them into global because that'll give us more flexibility of usage. And if we ever want to change colors, I don't even have to touch my artwork. I can just go directly to the swatch, change the color, and it'll regenerate everything. Then we'll go ahead and apply the same base blue here. This one will do the highlight, and this one will do the shadow. And you can see how it helps you create a tonal family. So if we take artwork like this, we could select this. Maybe we color that the darkest blue. His skin will just remain what it is. But if we built in shading like this, then I could select this. And maybe I could color it the lighter color. And because we've used global colors, we can go under color here and I can adjust this. Maybe I adjust this to 35% instead of the full value. And that looks really good. And then these shapes within the dark area, we'll just make that the base blue. And those work as detailing in the artwork. So it's a quick way to create a tonal family. And you can do this for any color. This is a cool hue. Here's a warm hue I did. Started out with the brown here in the middle, and that turned into this. So a very helpful plugin. I think it works fairly well, and it's pretty straightforward and simple to use. So let's move to the next script. The next script I want to show you is called Rotate Towards Point. Now, it's a script that's been around for quite a while, and I'll be completely honest with you. The only time I've ever used this is to demonstrate it. But you might see it in a different way than I do. I'm not sure how useful this one really is. And so I purposely came up with a theme that would align with it. So if all these darts need to head towards the board, whatever your focal point is that it needs to point to needs to be on top. So this is actually above these darts. So I just wanted to point that out. So if I go ahead and select everything here, and we go File, we go Script, and we go Rotate Towards Point. So I go down, Rotate Towards Point, like this. It'll say, do you want to extract the groups? No, we want those to remain, so we won't check that, and we'll click OK. And it points all the areas towards the central element that you've chosen, which is the dartboard. This is okay. I thought, how can I make this a little more useful? Well, I think setting up your composition a little differently might help. So let's go ahead and turn this on. Maybe if you set your dots up like this, but you're going, well, wait a minute, but the darts are on top of the board. Well, yeah, because that's where you want the darts to end up being anyway. So I just made a central element that's right down here like that. So all I'll do is select everything with that central element, which is on top of the darts, but you can't really see it because it's colored the same as the bullseye. And then we can go to File, we can go to Script, and we can go Rotate Towards Point. You'll ask if you want to extract groups. No, we'll click OK, and boom, there we have some a little more straightforward that kind of goes a lot better actually than the previous one. Again, how useful is this? I'm not sure, but maybe you might think of other ways you could use it to achieve an effect or look that you come up with. So let's move along to the next script. The next script I'd like to show you is one called Dupe at Anchor Points. Now, this is one that I'll admit, part of me thinks it's not very useful, but another part of me thinks it's kind of magical. And I'm showing you these not because I think I use them every day, I don't, but it might be something that you'll see and you'll go, hey, I could use that to do this or this, something that I didn't even think of. And so I think it's important to showcase it in that regard. And I still think it's kind of magical, even though I don't think it's ultimately super useful. But let's go ahead and do it. So I have a composition with the pot, and I have branches, and I've created this blossom, and I want to put this on each one of the end of these anchor points. Well, it's not hard. I just have to duplicate it how many ever times there are, but that might take some time. Well, here's a quick way you can do it. You can use the lasso tool, and all we're going to do is we're going to loop in the end anchors on all of these branches. And it doesn't need to look pretty with your lasso tool selection, but it allows you to do it pretty easy. So we've done that. I'll go ahead and select the blossom, and I'll go File. I'll go down to Script, and we're going to go to Dupe at Anchor Points. And boom. How cool does that look? I mean, that was a lot faster than, finding the central of this one and putting it on each of them like that. Of course, we can get rid of that one. And I'd also augment this by giving it some nice leaves. So I've always liked this one. It's just, other than creating an example of how to use it, but that's where I think if you guys figure out, hey, I figured out you could use this to do that, then give these a shot. And let me know what you come up with, because I'd be curious, because that might help me change my thinking on it and how I could potentially use it. But I still think it's kind of magical. Let's go ahead and move on to the next script. The next script is called Circle Fill. Now, I'll be honest with you. I went to an Adobe Max, I believe it was when it was in San Diego one year, and in their Sneaks presentation, which is stuff that the engineers come up and they kind of show what their pet project has been working on the side to try to show what could possibly come to Adobe Illustrator. Now, I've seen a lot of ones over the years. I thought, well, that would actually be helpful. And for whatever reason, they never show up. Like they showed one a couple years ago with isometrics and how you can create editable live effect vector isometrics. I'm going, that'd be really nice. But no, nothing yet. Whether it'll ever show up, who knows? But they did show one in the sneaks that I saw in San Diego where it was you could select any kind of vector shape. So we're going to select the inside of this gumball like here, and we want to add gumballs to it. So we have our gumball colors here, we have gumball colors here, and we want to add gumballs in it. Well, I'm going to show you what you can use in terms of a script to do this. So if we go over here and we go to fill and we pull down and we go to circle fill, it'll bring this up here. And by the way, if you want to find other scripts, I'm not even going over in this movie, just Google John Ware. This guy creates a lot of interesting scripts. I believe he's Japanese, but it makes me wonder, what was he thinking when he came up with this script or that script? But a few of the ones I'm showing you today, he had created, so you can find his all over the place online. So this will give you controls, max size. What's the max size we want to do on this one? Well, I don't know. Let's try 30 like this. And what's the minimum size? Well, maybe we can put 4 like that. And what is the minimum distance? Well, maybe we go 2 like that. And then what colors? We're just going to leave this black right now and click OK. And you can see it fills that shape, and it does a good random job, but not really the aesthetic I was looking for, because I want my gumballs to all be relatively the same size, or actually the same size if you can. So I need to change my settings. Now, if they were selling gumballs and like jawbreakers, that might be okay like that. So let's go ahead and just select our gumballs that we did and get rid of it. We're going to try this again. We'll go in here and I'll try some new settings. And I'm also going to select a different color in the script. So let's go here. We'll go color fill. Just so I don't forget, let's select our gumball colors down here like that. And we're going to make these all the same size. So 20 seem to be pretty huge. Right? No, wait, we did 30. So let's try 12. And let's try 12. So we're saying the maximum size is 12, the minimum size is 12, and a nice distance. So we have some space in there. We'll do 4. And we'll use gumball colors and see how well it does. And that looks a lot more believable, but you can see it didn't keep the exact same color, the exact same size. But this one's a little more acceptable, a little more believable, and you could readjust those settings and maybe hit on something that works a little better than what it produced. Now, the only thing in here that I'd say is, yeah, it's selected from the gumball colors randomly, I should point out, but it added a lot of these pinks together. So this is where I just used my eyedropper, and I think it needs another orange. There's only one orange. And then you can adjust things, you know, maybe one of these are pink down here to get pink down there. So it's a good jumping off springboard to doing this kind of thing. And it's out of all the scripts, this one does work pretty well. But Adobe had showed something much like this, and it seemed to work a lot better, but it's never came to Illustrator. So let's jump to the next script. Okay, we have another script to go over, and this one is called Fillinger. And much like the previous script, this one can take existing vector art and populate it randomly within another shape. So we're going to create a design I'm just going to randomly call Loving You to Death. And that's why I have skeletons and bones up here. We'll just go ahead and select those. We'll color those white. I just had them gray so you'd know what they were. And we'll color them white. We have a shape of a heart. We'll select that as well. And with those two things selected, we'll go to the script. We'll go to File, Scripts, and we'll go Fillinger. I like the name. It's kind of clever. We'll bring this up, and you can see it gives you settings here. So here we're just going to punch in one random right from the beginning. We'll go maximum 10, minimum 3, 6. We'll leave that, I guess. Let's resize how large. We'll go 55. We want to have random selected. We want to have on top selected and as in layers. So it's going to fill the shape. And notice the fill shape is above the artwork that's on the level below it. It seems unintuitive that way. And it's what threw me off until I realized, oh, it has to be on different layers. Okay. And so just keep that in mind. Now, group all items after executing. That's just going to make it easier to try it again if you don't like what you come up with, because these will remain here. It'll just populate what it does within this shape, the kind of confines of that shape. And then random items, if items in a group, we'll just click that and just keep it as is and remove the item to fill after executing. No, we want the red shape to remain there. So with all that, we'll click OK. And boom, that's how quick it does to fill that shape. Now, we might go a little larger on the larger size just to get a little more variation, but actually this one did a pretty good job. But that's how it works, and it grouped everything. So we can try this again if we want to. Just reselect it, go to File, go down to Script, go to Fillinger. It's not going to remember. Is this the settings I had last time? I should have written those down. I think they're the same settings. Yeah, because I think I punched in 55. We're going to go a little more. We're going to go to 70, see what that does. And minimum distance between objects, let's try 4. And we'll keep everything else the same and click OK. Actually, I like this one better. So that's essentially what this does. Now, is it going to be perfect? No. I think it works better than I could use the same one on the gumball one I showed you earlier. But you could click into this group, and I just think they're all too much the same size. So I might go in and just manually increase the size on certain of these elements just to add a little more interest overall to my composition, kind of like that. So once again, it's a good place to springboard from and to jump off from and customize it from there, but it gives you an easy way to populate an area with some elements. So let's jump to the next script. The next script I want to show you is one that I think works really great, and it will also demonstrate how lazy Adobe development can be at times. Render Swatch Legend. Now, why did I say that about Adobe? Because I came up with the idea of dragging swatches from the Swatches palette onto the desktop and being able to lock them together so you have live interactive swatches that you could still color any vector object with, but it would just help branding projects. You could have those within a library to share with team members, etc. It would transform the way Illustrator could work. And I thought it was a great idea. And when I presented it to Adobe, they decided to develop it only to all of a sudden go silent, not communicate anymore. And I think it's because they decided it would be too hard to do. So instead of, coming up with a incredibly good, new, intuitive feature, they just borrowed. And what do I mean by that? Well, if I select these swatches here and I go to the option menu, you can see we have Create Swatch Info. this is all they did. They ripped off a custom script that somebody had already done. So if I click this, we'll just go with the default, click OK, and this is what you get. It's okay, but they certainly weren't the first to do it, and they certainly aren't the best at doing it, in my opinion. I'm going to show you one that I like better now. It's called Render Swatch Legend. So if this is the brand mark, these are the brand colors here. I'll select those. I'll go up here and I'll go script and we'll go to Render Swatch Legend. And you can decide what items, now I'll give Adobe this. Their interface is a lot cleaner. This one's kind of wonky. Doesn't explain everything. Like, what's this 10? That's actually the type size. Why they couldn't put type size here. If you hover over it, it'll tell you that, but it should say text size here. Those are the kind of things that are kind of goofy. But I want to get the hexadecimal, RGB, and CMYK. I don't care about the lab or gray. We won't worry about that. People might ask, well, what's the separator? These are the characters. So in between the values for RGB or CMYK, you can tell it to use a specific a glyph for a separator if you want to do that. And split components, I don't really remember. Oh, this is, so the separator is what symbol you want to use. I don't really understand the difference between those two, but we're just going to go with what we have here and click OK. I just think this looks a lot cleaner than what Adobe's is. I like the fact that the type is on above, and this right here, it has CMYK up here, and it has CMYK down here. So this is where, and by the way, it's going to use whatever your default system font is. In my case, on a Mac, it's Myrid Pro. So I would click into this, and on the first one, I might call this Handy Red, whatever. And I might even make this a bold. And if it's on a darker color like this, I'd probably go white with this one as well, like that. On this lighter color, I would keep it here. So I'll make a Bond reference. I've been watching all these old James Bond movies lately, so we'll go Goldfinger, like that, so on and so forth. So I usually change the topmost line to the name of that swatch or that color, branded color, and reference. Now, I would add to this, because it's an editable text file, and it does a nice job of doing that. I can go in here and put in a Pantone reference as well if I wanted to. But I've always liked this. I think it works really well. It's simplified, and it looks more designery than Adobe's, ironically. And so this was out way before that feature from Adobe ever came around. So that's this one. Let's move on to the next script. The next script I want to show you is one called ColorToner. Now, it's a little different from the Swatch Legend because it provides tones of colors, and you can decide at what breaks those colors are. This is best demonstrated. So we're going to select, we have two colors here. We have a green, we have this kind of dirty orange color. We'll go ahead and select the green first. Let's make sure to turn off the swatch or the outline. So we have the green color selected. Now we're going to go to fill. We're going to go to our file, that is. We're going to go to scripts, and we'll go to ColorToner. It'll bring up the interface. It confirms, is this the color you want? Yes, that's the color I want. How many steps? And think of like a block, a grid. 5 steps is fine. What's the variation of tints between each step? We'll do 50%. Shades, mixing with black. How many steps? Same amount of steps. And in this case, we'll go, you can customize this. So we'll go 40% black added to each shade. And then tones, mixing color with gray. We'll do 25 on the gray, like that. And you can, now here's the odd thing. This file is larger because these are in inches. and for whatever reason you can't do it smaller. So that's one of the weird things with some scripts. You can't control certain things. So just keep that in mind. Once it's rendered, you can scale it down to whatever you want, but it is going to do it at a larger size. And then options, add color legend, add to swatches. If you want it to add all of these, that it's going to generate to your swatches. You probably want to try the first one before you commit to the second one. And you can preview it, and this is nice. I wish all scripts had preview. Adobe doesn't even have that on some of their features that have been around forever. But if we click preview, you can see what we're going to get. And if that's what you want, then go ahead and click OK. And this is what you're going to end up with. So this is a percentage of black added to each level of the color. This is the base color here. So if we go up here, that'd be the base color. And this would be the tonal family by adding black and adding gray at different set. And it gives basically the color information for each stage. So really kind of cool. So that would be a color, a cool hue if you wanted to. If you want to do a warm, let's do this one. And we'll go here and we'll go script. We'll go ColorToner. And we'll try something. We'll do variations of 20 on this one. And then on this one, we'll do 55. And this we'll do 70. And again, not that I need to, but I'm going to also click add to swatches. And so if we preview this, let's move this over here and we'll preview it. That looks good. So we'll just click OK. Notice it's added those 3 groups of swatch libraries over here in our swatches. And this now gives us a nice tonal family that has those breaks based off of the color information we requested. So a really helpful swatch that I find super useful. And once again, I think actually looks better than Adobe's methodology. So let's move to the next script. The next script I want to show you is one called Extend Handles. Now it's the one I've had the longest because when I originally started using it, it was before any plugins existed and there was no built-in method in Adobe Illustrator to do this. Now, there's both plugins now that can do the same thing, and there's methods built into Illustrator to allow you to do the same thing as well, but there's still one usage I still use it for, so I'll still show you that. But if I'm working on a design like this and I want to decide to take this kanji but make the shape that it's going to be on top of, not a rectangle, but I have the rectangle there because I'm cheating, so I can go to the ellipse tool, snap on one corner, and go down here and snap on this corner. But I don't want it to be that, so let's get rid of the rectangle. I want it to be almost like a squircle. Now, we all know in Illustrator now, you can make a squircle by selecting this anchor point, hitting the S key, which switches to the scale tool. And then you have to be careful when you click on this handle. And then as soon as you click and pull, you hold the shift key down, you can get a squircle shape. But notice if you go too far, it's going to get that weird bowing. So you just need to watch that. So we've kind of gotten part of the shape, but this is where I would do the same thing, but I would go horizontal or vertically with these 2 anchors, hit the S key, and again, carefully grab this and then hold the shift key down to lock it in, just to create a nice, elegant kind of rectangular quirkle. I don't know what you call it, but something like that. And then if we wanted to color it this color, get rid of didn't want to get rid of that. Okay, get rid of the outline, color it like this, copy it. Oh, let's make sure we copy it. Select this, paste behind, and now we have what I wanted to do all along with that shape. So that's how you do it natively in Adobe Illustrator. Well, before plugins, actually, I think this might look even better. Yeah, I like that better. There we go. Before there was plugins, before there was built-in native features like the one we just used, there was extend handles. So again, you saw how I was doing that. And so back in the day, I could create a shape like this, like that. But if I wanted to do that before plugins, before Adobe added the feature that I just showed you, how would I do it? Well, I'd have to do something like this, where I would snap to here, figure out how far those handles needed to go back to this shape, and then I'd pull these out like this. So was it impossible? No. Was it time consuming? Yes. Well, this plugin allowed you to do that. And so if I wanted this to be more of a squircly type shape, I could select these two like that, and I could go to File, I could go to Script, and I could go to Extend Handles. And this is about as pragmatic as it gets, extend rate and percentage. I go, well, let's do 125 like that. And you can see how it extended it. If I undo it, you can see what it was. Let's do it again, maybe just a little bit more. So we go File, Scripts, Extend Handles. I think I'll do 140. And boom, you get it. So why am I showing you this? Well, you can do that the other way. So why do you need this font? Well, sometimes, and once again, this isn't every day, but at times I'm building and I'm going, this looks okay, but I want a squircle. And if I try to do Adobe's method, built-in method, it doesn't honor my angle. So if I select these two, go S, and then start doing this, notice how it squirclies, but it also screws up the shape I had. So it doesn't work well. But I noticed if I select these and I go to File, Script, and I go to Extend Handles, it honors the angle. It doesn't change it at all. So if I go 140 on this one and I go, okay, it stays at those angles. So that's the reason why I still use this at times, even though it's 20 some years old. There's certain usages that's going to help me get the look and feel I want. So that's this script. Let's jump to the next one. The next script I want to show you is one called Fleurify. Now, that's kind of a strange name, but it kind of goes with flourishes. So if you start with basic shapes, it takes the existing anchor handles, like in this square, has 4. So if we go to File, we go down to Scripts, and we go to Fleurify, you'd say, how much do you want this to fleurify it? And I didn't even know the first time I used it. Well, I don't even know what it's going to do. So let's say 70. And click OK. This is what you're going to get. So it does kind of geometric twists. This almost would be a good way to create a butterfly a lot faster if you wanted to. Let's take this polygon shape, and we'll do this one next. We'll go Script, and we'll go to Fleurify. Again, it'll say how much, and in this case, I don't know, let's say we'll try 10 or 15. Oh, that's 45. I hit the wrong button. There we go. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, that's that's amazing. Nope, we didn't do it enough. So I guess, you need to do it enough to see what it's doing. I think it's adding loops or something there. Let's go 45. Let's do an uneven number, 47, like that. Oh, okay, I see what it's doing. Let's do it even more. We'll go Script. Most of these you just have to play with. So I'm going to go 122 and see what it does. Ooh, that's cool. I want to try a different one, though. Let's go 78. Oh, yeah. So that's kind of cool. That's all it's doing. It's making flourishes. So this one's probably going to be close to the square since it's just 4 anchor points, but it's starting with the circle. So we'll try this one. And we'll go 80. It's kind of like this one. It's a little more leafy shaped. Let's try this one. It's 4-pointed star shape. Script, Fleurify, and we'll go 130. Ooh, that's not bad. That's kind of cool. Let's do one where it's a burst. We have 9 points on this one. We'll go script, Fleurify. Let's go 90. Let's do more than that. $133. Ooh, that almost looks like a snowflake. So you can see and get the idea of what it's doing. It's taking existing geometry and it's purposely adding Bezier curves to get an ornate feature. I know you could do this with Astute plugins pretty easily. Let's try this. I wonder what 2 shapes would look like together. So we have 2 shapes. And I didn't even try it, so I'm not even sure what this is going to do. Let's go 129. That's kind of, I love the outside shape. Let's undo that. Let's run the same thing on this shape. 129. Yeah, that one looks cool. And then let's try a different setting on this one. 77. Oh yeah. Well, that's almost exactly like this one, but that's kind of how you can combine them. So that's Fleurify. It might be something useful if you're doing a pattern or creating a border treatment, etc. It might even be a good concept to explore geometric shapes and see what other shapes you can get from those shapes. So let's move to the next script. This script I've shown before in at least 2 previous movies, but it's such a useful one. I want to show it again, and that is, it's called Text Block. And so you can take a bunch of different separate text boxes like this, and if you wanted to create a nice stack to read this out, Resident Alien is my new favorite TV show, and by the way, it is. It finally came on Netflix, and it's hilarious. Well, you can select all of these, and it will do what can take quite a bit of time to do. So if you go to File, you go to Script, and you go to Text Block, and this is going to be pretty large, so I'm going to break this down. So I'll just do 200 points like that. And then how much space do you want in between it? I think I'll go 7. I'll go like this. And all it does, okay, a little too much space on the 7. Let's try that again. I think I'll go 3 next time. So, and text block. Okay, I'll do 200 here. And I'll just go with 3. And boom. Look at how nice, and it's still editable text, but you can scale it up to whatever size you did. And it just take a long time to kind of do that, and you can do it within seconds. And by the way, if you haven't watched Resident Alien, it's hilarious. If you like anything sci-fi and comedy, I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, so if you're using a typeface, and this typeface, it still had somewhat straight edges, but it would still take a long time. And I used to always start by just converting the path immediately and then snapping and adjusting, nudging things around just so everything. This gives you a starting point that you can dial it in even more if you want to. So really helpful, speeds up the creative process. And when you're dealing with typefaces that don't have distinct, this one, like the D has a flat edge, but nothing else does, it makes it really hard to get a stack that looks great. It's just going to take more time. And I found that this does a great job. So script, text block, we'll go with 300. And we'll go with 7. And I violated its rules. So once again, this is what scripts are all about. I don't know what I did wrong. We'll go smaller. Maybe that was the problem. And I think I didn't put in what measurement increment I want. 7 and click OK. And again, I went too wide on this. But if I double click into it, I can just select these and just nudge them up. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Probably not the easiest way to do it, but I wasn't paying attention when I was punching in my numbers. But I would also nudge this one up 27, but I'm not going to let you hear me count again. So it'd be something like that. But it's an easier way to get stack type. You can throw this away once you have that. And once you have your stack type, you can nest it with a brand mark like this. So maybe we have the type going kind of like that. And then we can select it, color it purple, probably make Donut Shop a nice orange. So text block, another great script you can use in Adobe Illustrator. Let's jump to the next one. The next script I want to show you is one called Monoline Text. Now, as I was pulling this this content together and I was going through the list of all the scripts I've collected over the years, I came upon Monoline Text. I'm going, what is that? I don't even remember it. So I opened it up and type something out in a font, and I'm going, well, that didn't do anything. And then when I ran the script, I go, it vaguely came back to me. So let's just do that. You don't have any vector shape or any text selected. I thought just because of the name, it had to do with something with the typeface. It doesn't. It doesn't have to do with any kind of font. If you go to script, we'll go to Monoline Text. It has its own font size. It's calling it a font. It's really not a font, as you'll see. So what type size do you want? Well, we'll just pick some arbitrary 68 points. And I'm going to type in, I want a mix of upper and lower and a number. And we'll click OK. And this is what it's going to create. It's going to create a monotype. And let's go ahead and ungroup this like this. And we'll zoom in on this. So if you go into the M, these are just strokes. And they're in pieces. They're not even fused together or connected. The only time they do that is when it's like a circle. But notice these two ends aren't connected, because if you go to strokes and let's say you beef this up, you can see there's a little wedge there. So you'd have to select this and go Command J, which is join, like that. And the same thing on this one. So I'll Command J that. But you can see what it does. It creates monotext. And because the crossbar on an A is at an angle, it stops it beforehand before it hits each side, because when you add weight overall to these, let's go ahead and just select them all. And we'll select our weight based off of the O we did, like that. You don't want it sticking out on the other side. And so I'm looking at this and I'm going, I don't even remember the project I worked on. And I'm thinking about it and I'm vaguely remembering I had to do some kind of diagrams that look like old generated like blueprints or something. And so I decided to use this for the typography so it looked like it was old technology. And that's kind of what it does. But I'm going, okay, what should I even show this one? I debated whether or not to show it, and I'm just going to delete this because I figured out, well, something popped in my head and I go, okay, I guess you could use it. I'm going to show you what I came up with. We'll just go back to scripts. We'll go back to monoline text. I'm going to put in a specific number here. I'm just going to recreate it as I played with it. Type in the word tape, click OK. And I'm going to go ahead and ungroup this. On this one, I want to change the stroke size to 25. Right now it's just half a point. So we'll go 25. And notice what it's when I blew up the type, I'm going, it kind of looks like somebody took tape and just pulled it off of a, roll of masking tape, or like I have artist tape, which is black. So that's what I thought of was artist tape. But I go, it kind of looks like they just spelled something out with tape. And then I'm going, hey, that gives me an idea. So what did I do? I decided to make a pattern brush, and that's what this is up here. And if we go over to, where's my patterns? Oops, I don't have patterns open. Let's open up patterns. Brushes, there we go. Open up my brushes, you can see I have a pattern brush. So if I select these and I apply my pattern brush to it, it looks like masking tape. I thought that was kind of cool, but I think to even make it more believable, I created a graphic style that has a subtle drop shadow. So I'll go ahead and turn that on. And that way it makes it look even more believable as masking tape. So is this super useful? I don't know. It's just an interesting, quirky little script that does monoline text. So if you go to keyline view, it's still monoline. So if you want to give this a shot, maybe once again, you might be able to see a different potential in how you could use it than I would. For me, I don't know if I'll ever touch this again, but you might see something immediately or think of something immediately and go, hey, that'd be cool if you could do this with it. And so hopefully that happens. Let's move to the next script. The next script I want to show you is called Metaball. Now, I had recorded a movie last year for the People of channel where I show how to create a live effect that is like it'll change as you move your vector objects. And so this simulates that in terms of the overall aesthetic. But in that movie, instead of calling it Metaball, I called it Meatball because there's part of my brain that has slight dyslexia. Even when I was a kid, I was diagnosed with it. And for whatever reason, I looked at that name and I saw Meatball. And so I called this plugin Meatball in that movie. It's Metaball. So I'm correcting that now over a year later. But I'll show you in that other movie on my People of channel. And by the way, the name of that movie is Creating a Shape Cohesion Design. You'll be able to do this with live effects and the appearance panel. And you can save it as a graphic style and apply it to anything, anytime you want. So make sure to check that out. But I'm going to show you this plugin now. So we're just going to select these ball shapes. And I want to create an M of sorts, but I want it to look, kind of globular, almost as if they were cohesive together and you're pulling them apart and they're stretching in between. So we're going to select all of them, go to File, go to Script, go to Metaball, not Meatball, but notice how you could get Meatball from that, but it's your I putting the A before the T, and that's kind of what my brain does at times. So we'll select Metaball here. You can pick whatever it is. I think we want to go smaller than that, but let's try 30 and click OK. And this is what you're going to get. Now, it's kind of a hot mess because it's assuming everything needs to associate. Well, we don't need this association. We can get rid of that. So it doesn't fuse it in such a way that, You can't get rid of it. You just have to figure out which ones you want to keep, like this. We don't need that. We don't need this one. And on this one, we would keep that. But I think 30 was a little too big. So let's just deselect our meatballs like that. We reselect them. We're going to go smaller, a little smaller, because I think it'll work better. And we'll go Metaball. I think we did 30. We'll try 20. And again, you're going to get these extra shapes. So this is where we don't need that. And I think that looks pretty good. So once you have the shape selected, or once you have the shapes removed that you don't want, you can just select everything and unite it like that. And maybe you lock it up with type like that. And that's how you can use this to get those hard to, kind of those difficult tangents to build it manually. You would just struggle with this for a long time to get it perfect clear. But once again, I have another movie that I show you how you can do this through a live effect, and it works really, really well. Not only that, when you go to expand it into the final shape, like this S shape that I'll show you in that movie, it does it really, really clean as well. So I encourage you, if you like this, download this these scripts, and you can try that way, and then watch my movie again called Creating a Shape Cohesion Design. And then you can save it as a graphic style as well. And I think that would benefit you whenever you wanted to explore with this type of aesthetic. So let's jump to the next script. The next script I want to show you is an interesting one because it's not so much for the creative process in creating art as much as I think it's a good kind of teacher's asset to communicate how to build and construct vector artwork. So if we go to a shape like this elliptical shape here, and I go to the direct selection tool, you can see it shows these anchor points at a 9, 3, 6, and a 12, 3, 6, and 9 position, and the handles pulled out. Now this script is called Draw Art Handles. Technically, the handles it's talking about aren't called art handles. They're called Bezier handles because it controls the Bezier curve in between these anchor points. And that's what creates these curves. It's called Bezier. It's named after Pierre Bezier, the engineer who came up with this mathematics, or discovered the mathematics and applied it specifically to car body manufacturing for Renault back in the days, French car company. So what does this do? Well, it will draw these, because unless you have this selected or you have all the anchor point handles direct selected, you won't see these handles. So sometimes to communicate that is a little tricky, especially when I did my book. I had to like set up my files and the colors for selection certain ways, take screenshots. And I was wondering, is there a better way to do it? And I discovered this script where I can just select a shape, go to File, go down to Script, go to Draw Art Handles, and if I deselect the shape, look, the bounding box and the handles are in place. So I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. You could take even a complex one like this and do the same thing where you go Script and you go Draw Handles, and boom, it nails it. Like it's still selected, but it's not. And if we zoom in on this, let's zoom in on this one. If I just select this shape, it's dead on. It gets them perfect. So it's kind of a useful asset for teaching, I think. Let's go ahead and just delete these. So if I were to use it in teaching, let's say I'm doing something on a character design, I can create or select this outermost shape, go to File, go to Script, go to Draw Art Handles. It creates the art. I could even select this, sample the stroke it created, and then that way it looks like the artwork's selected, even though it's not. So it's a good teaching asset in this case to teach Bezier handles and how they control the Bezier curves that make up vector design and illustration projects. Whether or not you can use it, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I thought it'd be good to show you this regardless. So let's move to the next script. The next script I want to go over is a few custom scripts I created. Well, actually, I created them in the process of creating custom scripts, but I decided they're good for certain types of creative workflows that will speed things up. Now, I have this grid of artwork from my modern culture. You can see that with the new feature in Illustrator where it now names the artboard, you can see that. If you don't like it, you can just go to View, Hide Artboard, and you don't have to see that, but no big deal. It just shows that our artboard, modern culture, has all these on it. But let's say I want to set this artwork up to be separate artboards for each artwork. Well, if you do that manually, it could be a real pain and you never get it perfect and you end up fiddling around with it. And I was trying to set a script up for a series I was doing on icon design for LinkedIn Learning, and I got so frustrated with the artboard thing, I decided to see if I could write my own scripts, and I did. And I'm not showing that script in this movie. That's going to come with a series of videos on icon design and how you can export them and deliver them to clients. And it'll be part of those exercise files once that comes to this channel. But right now, I want to show you in the process of developing that, I discovered a few things. One of those things is it's easy for Illustrator to understand that these are objects, vector objects, but what if you want it to know there's a specific name? How would you, because I got to a point in my developing my scripts for my icon movie that I developed for LinkedIn Learning that I wanted it to take specific objects and know what the name was. And so I asked a friend who does a lot of scripting, and he said, oh, you'll want to go to the attributes. So if I select this character here and I go to attributes, notice it knows it's a vector object, but if you want to give an object a name like this one here, I want to call it warrior, so I'm going to select it, click into this area. It's a notes pane. You can type in notes, so I'm going to go warrior. So now I know it's called warrior. Well, if I go to this coffee cup and I select it, it's Perk. That's its name. This is Nebi for Nebuchadnezzar. You know, here we have Toucan. I like this guy's name, Grungle. Kind of inspired by Hiroyuki, the Japanese animator. I love his movies. My daughter got me hooked on him years ago when she was a little kid. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not into that style. And she goes, no, you'll like this. Just watch it. And I watched it and I was like, okay, I did like it. And it was a lot of fun. Hirozuki, I'm going to get his last name wrong. You know who I'm talking about, Spirited Away, one of my favorite movies, animated, that is. So getting back to the script, I want to take all this artwork and create an artboard for each one individually. So if I select all of these and I go to File and I go to Script and I go down to Make Artboards and click it, boom. It creates an artboard for each piece of artwork, and I put this nice buffer around it. I personally like the buffer, but sometimes people don't want that buffer. And the only thing, especially now, since you can see the name on the actual artboard above the artboard itself, my script that I will provide in my icon course will actually take, and this is why I showed it, like if you click on Nebi here, I included as part of that script to take the object name, which is Nebi, and make that the artboard name. That way this would be Nebi. It'd be 01 Nebi, 02. This one would be Lionheart. 03, this one would be Newful. 04 would be Bonehead, and this would be Ganesha. So if you want that script, that's fine. That'll be coming. You can grab that one from those exercise files. But let's say you don't want that buffer. Let's say you want it more form fit, shrink wrapped artboard around the existing art, the exact same size. So if we Command Z, we go back, we have our art selected. I go to File, I go to Script, and I go Make Artboards, NoSpace. Just think shrink wrap, and boom, it'll create a shrink wrap version artboard that is exact dimensions of the artwork sitting on it. And I'll get into more of this, but this saves a lot of time, and it's a lot easier than the built-in methods Illustrator has. And it only took me about a little over a day to get these scripts to work this way. And then when I moved on to apply them to my icon course, I figured out how I could name the attribute and then tell the script to name my layers according to whatever the object on that layer's attribute is. And that way it would name my artboard layers as well. So works really, really well. But this will give you this. You can go from, and I think it'd save you some time if you need to create multiple artboards based off of a selection of vector objects and assets in Adobe Illustrator. Let's move to the next script. The next script is called QR code. Now, let's say you're developing a sticker label for a new line of red pepper hot sauce called Demented. And on that packaging, you needed to have a QR code they wanted you to include on it. Back in the day, there's a lot of free ways to create QR codes, and then people realized they could make money on it. Now, usually you have to pay some service online to create a QR code. I don't know how this one gets around all those things, but it does. And I've been using it for quite a long time now. So I just wanted to show it to you. So we have a FPO of where we want the QR code to place. And we're just going to go File, we're going to go down to Scripts, and we're going to go to QR code. Now notice there's this file in here called Includes. This has to be in the Scripts location that I showed you at the very beginning, along with the QR code. You're not going to this. This is referenced by this script here. So we'll click on QR code. It'll come up and it asks for the data. The data is, where do you want this URL to go to? And we're going to type in one here, url.com/vector hot sauce, like that. And the minimum size you can make it is 2. It's going to end up being a vector object, so it doesn't matter, but just know that the minimum size is 2. You can scale it down, of course, once it generates. Once I click OK, it's going to generate that in a separate file, which will copy and paste it back into this one. So we'll click OK. It's going to crunch the numbers. Until it generates the code. We'll select everything, group it, copy it. I don't need this. I can close this file. And we'll paste it. I'll use this to align it. I think it's a little big, so we'll scale it down a bit. And if you want to make sure this works, then pause this and use your phone and test this QR code out. It will work, and that's as simple as it gets to create your own custom QR codes using Adobe Illustrator in this script. Let's move to the next script. The next script is one that I had commissioned to be made on my behalf, because as I was creating artwork, and this goes back to freehand days, so this is a script that worked in Macromedia freehand, but also works in Adobe Illustrator. And this artwork I didn't even create in Illustrator. I created in Macromedia freehand back in the day. So we're talking this kind of old artwork. It was for a spot illustration in a kid's magazine. And I had a round Brussels sprout at the tip of his tongue. So that's why his tongue is out. He didn't like eating his vegetables. But it also shows you the way you had to build a Macromedia because they didn't have great gradient tools. So I use shapes to get all these gradients. So if you go to Keyline View, that gives you insight into how I used to create artwork in that app before I switched to Illustrator. So still funny artwork, but interesting the hoops you had to jump through to get certain things to work when you printed it. Now, in the process of creating in Macromedia, they had guides just like Adobe Illustrator, but guides were not considered objects. So you never got a guide embedded in your artwork. They were just handled differently. Unfortunately, one of the things that I ran into first when I came to Adobe Illustrator is that guides were considered vector objects in Illustrator. And because of that, you can embed them. So if we look at here, you can see all these guides. I can't even select these guides. The ones up here, I can select those. And as soon as I select it, it selects my art. But notice these other guides disappear. Well, what is that? Well, if I move the artwork like this, you don't see any guides. But as soon as I let go and deselect, all these guides move with it. That's because I've embedded some of my guides into my artwork. And there's one quick way you can get rid of them. If you don't care about saving your guides, you can go up to View. You can go down to, now I have to remember, View, go down to Rulers. No, Guides, there it is. And you can go Clear Guides, and it will delete all the guides you have in your file, regardless if they're embedded or not. But at times, I didn't want to do that, because I don't want to reset up the guides. I just accidentally got them embedded with my artwork, and I want to correct that. And it was such a hassle to deal with this simple little test that I hired actually, ironically, a coder who worked for Microsoft to write the JavaScript for me. I just explained what I needed it to do, and he said, yeah, you could do that. And so, I don't know, it cost me like $50 to get it written. And all it does is I can select my artwork, and I can go to File, I can go to Script. This is part of my GS Glitchka Studio, even though, I probably should have put GS on these artboard ones because I wrote those, but this is part of the ones that are in my GS set that I use all the time. So Move Guides to Layer, I'm going to click it, and boom, it's done. So what did that do? It took all my guides, move it to a layer, named it guides, so I can turn it off, and now I don't have any embedded in my artwork. That's literally all it does. And if you like this kind of workflow methodology, you might find use for this. I know I use it all the time, and you might like it as well. So let's move on to the next script. The next script is called Save Layers as AI. That is Adobe Illustrator, not artificial intelligence BS. If you look at the layers panel, you can see I have the event logo type that I created for 4H here. And then on individual layers, I have the beaker, the microscope, the Bunsen burner, et cetera, that are used within the logo type. So now I want to go ahead and I want to save out each of these layers so they're individual AI files. And what my script does is it takes the source file, which is on my desktop in a folder. So wherever you're running this from, whether it's on your desktop, whether it's in a project folder, that's where it's going to save those files to. That's the way I designed the script. It takes the file name, in this case 4H, you'll put an underscore after it, and then it will flow in the layer name after it. And so that's how it creates the assets. So all I have to do is go File, go to Script, and go to Save Layers as AI. I built it so it says if you haven't saved your file, make sure you do that, because if you made changes, you will lose those once you're done running the script. The individual files will be okay, but you no longer have that original file you exported from. So this is a safety precaution I built in. I can easily get distracted, and it saved my bacon over the years. So do you want to continue? You say yes. It just does what a computer does. It computes, starts batch processing all those layers and spitting out AI files. And we will go to the desktop at the end of this movie and review those, but that's how this script works. let's jump to the next. Much like the previous script, this does the same methodology, but instead of saving each individual layer as a .ai file format, it saves it as a .pdf format. So it saves them out as PDFs. This goes much the same way. I have a dog, I have a fox, I have a pig, and I want each of these saved out as their own separate PDF file. And so that's what this script is going to do. And so we're going to go ahead and go to File, go to Script, and go Save as PDF. It's going to ask you if you want it saved or if it's okay to export. It's okay to export. And it will do the exact same thing. And at the end of the movie, we'll review that as well on the desktop. Let's move to the next. One of the most important things you can do in your workflow working with Illustrator is to create what's called a new document profile. Now, I'm not going to walk you through that step by step, but in the exercise files, I include a PDF of that chapter in my book, and it will explain exactly how to go about doing it. If you read through that, whether you're on Mac or you're on PC, you'll be able to figure it out for yourself. Why is that important? Because there's certain springboard colors I always have that come up in new documents. So if I go to create a new document, I'll go File, and they have a new interface. I kind of prefer the old one still. So I have my settings set up so it uses the old profile. And under Profile, I'm going to go to GS Print because this is my new document profile instead of using Print that's based in the default settings. So we're going to go GS File. I usually like going horizontal, and I'll go OK. So what that does is it sets up my file with all my pre-established swatches, so I don't have to create and generate new swatches. It has a grayscale setup, etc. It has a gradient swatch, whether radial or linear, and it just makes the process go a little faster. You're not recreating the wheel every time you're starting a new project. Now, it has one layer, and this is the problem with the current new document profile. Maybe they'll change this at some point. I don't know. It's still this way where you can't have custom layers. You could set those up in your new document profile because all it is an AI file that is set within your system. But it doesn't matter if you have it set up a certain way. It won't do layers for whatever reason. They decide not to do that. And that was unfortunate because I always like having my layers set up a certain way. But let's say you want to bring a sketch in you're going to create. So you can go to Place. Notice I have keyboard shortcuts, so I don't even do this. I just hit F10, but we'll pretend to do it this way. I'll select my sketch and I'll place it. And we'll put the sketch right there, and you can see it's just on the one layer we have. Well, I got tired of restructuring my layers and renaming them every time, and I hired the same guy I had who created the scripts for my save layers out as AI and save layers out as PDF, and I explained to him what I wanted this script to do. And this is what he created. So once I have my new document open, I can go File, I can go down to Script, I can go Set Up Layers, and boom, it sets up my layers. Not only does it get rid of the layer I wasn't even going to use, it creates my X layer, it creates my build layer, it detects my sketch and puts it on a layer named Sketch so I can lock it in place, and then I can build on top of it. And this has helped me out quite a bit over the years. Now, as things evolve and change, because sometimes I'm opening up old files and I want to structure my layers differently, but I want to use some of the elements in my old files, I'll use the same script to set up my layers. So this has helped me quite a bit, and this one might help you. But I'm going to go ahead and close this. We won't bother saving it because I want to do another one, and this one's even awesomer, if that's a word. And that is, we had to set up layers, but I go, well, why can't I combine those two? And I asked the guy, and he goes, well, yeah, you can combine them, of course. And I go, oh, I didn't know that. It's like, I'm not a JavaScripter. I just hunt and peck and figure it out. And I go, well, is that easy to combine those together? I can try, but I'm probably going to get a lot of errors before I figure it out. He goes, yeah, I can do that. And so now I can just go to File, and instead of going to New, I'm going to go all the way down to Scripts, and you can access custom scripts without even being in an Illustrator file. So I'm going to go to Scripts. I'm going to go down Setup New Document, GS Setup New Document. Boom. It gives me my new document, it gives me my colors, it gives me my layers the way I want it. And you might be going, well, if you can do it through a custom script, why can't Adobe do it through just the normal method of a new document profile? Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm going, they could, but they just haven't ever get around to it because they don't work in Illustrator. That's the problem. But notice this one, I had them add even another element, and that is a tonal family that's pre-generated. So I can go in and color these. Well, it's locked. Let's unlock it. I can go ahead and color these swatches to whatever tonal family I want. And this is a horizontal one, but if you set it up in... if you, instead of being a horizontal document, if you pick vertical, it'll give you the exact same one, so you might have to rotate it and stuff. But still, it does everything else, and it makes life a whole lot easier. So you guys might find that very, very helpful in your own process. So anyway, remember, all the scripts I demonstrated are ones that I've been using for years and years, but let's jump to the last bit and review the 2 previous scripts that we saved out the files for, so you can see what to expect when using those scripts as well. Okay, we're going to review the 2 scripts that I showed you. One was save out layers as AI and save out layers as PDF. Just so to fully explain it, I just decided to save it for last. So if we open up Save Layers as AI, this was the source file here. If I go ahead and go to Keyline View or Quick View, you can see what that is. We don't need that, but that was the file that we saved out the layers. So we're just going to delete that. We can actually delete our sketch. We're done with that. And this is what we ended up with. We have the 4H beaker icon. And we have the Bunsen burner, we have the logo type, we have the leaf, we have the microscope, we have the pi symbol, and the other beaker, and the tree. And all of those are now separate AI files. So it takes the layer, it takes the file name that we used, puts an underscore, and then adds the layer name that we've named for each associated asset. And it's an easy way to save out and deliver your files to clients, if they need AI format. Maybe they might need PDF on certain projects. So this is the build file with each of the comps for the pig, the fox, and the dog on their own layers. We don't need that one. We can get rid of it. But now all these PDFs are now saved out easy and fast. And that's how those scripts work. So you'll want, wherever you want these to be saved out, that's where the original file needs to be. So the easiest thing to do is create a file on your desktop, place your original file in it, save it out, and they'll all export out to that original location. That's how the script is designed. So remember, all the scripts I demonstrated in this movie are in the exercise files. That includes my personal scripts I demonstrated. So grab them and give them a try for yourself. You'll also find information on where to install them on both Mac and PC, so there won't be any confusion as to put them in the proper location so they're easy to use from within Adobe Illustrator. And I included, again, the chapter of my book on how you can create your own new document profile and set it up however you wish. And you can, if you like the way I have my layers set up, you can go ahead and use those. Maybe you know enough about JavaScript, you can go in, you can tweak with them and customize it even more. If you do that, just send me a copy of it. I want to see what you do, because I'm always up for new ideas. So until next time, thank you for watching People of Process, and I hope this content helps you improve your own creative process.